We welcome you back to CBS Mornings. It's 7:30. This week, our CBS News series, Anything for Love, is focusing on the wave of online romance scams. Now, these scams are costing victims more than $1 billion, that's with a B, a year. That's double what it was 4 years earlier. And it's not just retirees and widows. Victims are all ages, including lots of men. Yep, men are falling for it, too. So far this week, we have focused on the story of Kelly Gow. Her mom was a victim of a romance scam, and it cost her mom her life savings and eventually her life. Chief Investigative Correspondent Jim Axelrod is here with the next part of this story. Jim, what a story it is. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Gayle. And those numbers, they're actually thought to underestimate the damage done by the scammers because shame and embarrassment actually keep people from reporting the crime. Kelly Gow's mom fell in love with and got fleeced by someone she never actually met, conducting the entire relationship online and over the phone, and leaving Kelly with a very painful question. How did someone an ocean away lure in her mom?
She had all these buckets full in her life, but there was this one bucket that was missing that you or I, that nobody could fill after losing my dad.
To fill that bucket, Laura Kowal, a 57-year-old retired healthcare executive and widow, turned where 3 out of 10 Americans have to find love, to dating apps.
It felt safer than to go to a bar and meet somebody.
Online dating felt safer.
She would never put herself in a position of harm, right?
The profile Laura put on Match.com drew attention from a man using this picture who said his name was Frank. He claimed to be a Swedish businessman and convinced Laura to talk offline.
Initially, she was extremely giddy and happy talking to him. But as the relationship grew, the phone calls transitioned to nighttime. Then they almost became more secretive.
Over the next 2 years, they exchanged hundreds of emails, spoke regularly by phone, and declared their love for each other.
I think as I went through and started uncovering this, I just became almost sick at just the depths of all of it.
Frank convinced Laura to hand over her life savings, $1.5 million, for his fake investments.
She never met Frank.
I don't believe that she physically met Frank.
Federal investigators traced those who victimized Laura Kowal to Ghana. Investigators tell us Ghana and nearby Nigeria are home to thousands of scammers operating with impunity.
We have big people here in Ghana.
We spoke to a former scammer who called himself Emmanuel and told us how scammers can trick people like Laura. Once they establish trust, hope takes over.
You need to be very good in building the trust.
Actually, you need 2 things. You need to establish trust, and you need to exploit their hope.
That is it. So when we are able to do that, then we start extracting money from them. You cannot do that thing without the online dating site.
You need those online dating platforms.
Definitely.
Emmanuel says he worked with a team of scammers who could impersonate different accents. But his success depended on dating websites like Match.com, where Laura met Frank, who used a picture stolen from a doctor in Chile.
How hard was it for you to set up a fake profile?
Could I say it is easy?
It's a substantial problem, and it's one that's rapidly accelerating.
Arun Rao oversees romance scam investigations for the Department of Justice and says scammers are using AI to manipulate their voices and trick their victims.
If you are not perhaps accustomed to dealing with technology, then you may find yourself as a potential target.
Last year, more than 64,000 Americans reported being a romance scam victim. Many are older singles, lonely after a spouse dies, often with more money to target. But no one, says law enforcement, is safe.
We believe that is also substantially undercounting the true extent of the problem.
Undercounted because people are wrapped in shame and embarrassment.
They may be embarrassed that they have been victimized in this way. They may be afraid to tell their friends or family.
I've interviewed all walks of life, lawyers, doctors, to ditch diggers.
Retired Postal Inspector Natalie Rita interviewed hundreds of romance scam victims.
It's hard to watch. getting a little emotional about that. Some people, you know, like when you talk to them, it's the first time they're admitting that they've been scammed.
Kelly?
Yeah.
Deputy Javarthan with the Sheriff's Office. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
A search for a missing woman.
When Laura Kowal went missing,
You just knew.
I just knew. I had a gut feeling.
And you looked around, she's not in the yard anywhere.
Kelly turned her mom's house upside down and found this note addressed to her that read, "I've been living a double life. Yes, it involves Frank. I tried to stop this, but I knew I would end up dead."
It's still hard looking at this because I remember being so confused. Like, she's leaving me a clue.
Laura Kowal's body was found 2 days later, 235 miles from home, floating in the Mississippi River in a place Kelly says she'd never been. Laura's death opened up a number of tough questions for Kelly.
Could your mom have been compromised and then leveraged and actually been working for these guys?
The answer to that and several other dimensions of this diabolical crime is what we're digging into all week on the scam epidemic that's plaguing so many families across America.
Diabolical is the word here. How did she die? How did her mom die?
Well, there is no definitive answer to that. It was either suicide or homicide. The police death certificate did not make a definitive ruling, but let's remember one thing, Gayle. Laura Kowal was found 250 miles from where she lived in a place she'd never been before. And she was very, very close to her daughter.
Her daughter, yeah.
What's so vile about this is, you know, love, connection, it's something we all need, we hunger for.
And it's one of our purest emotions.
It's a pure emotion. You're not using your brain, you're using your
You're
heart.
using your
That's
heart.
right. And
Yeah.
the
the heart will win.
And
The heart always overrules the head.
It will lie to you. Your heart will lie to you sometimes.
There is a special place in hell
Yeah.
for these people.
But how do you do this, Jim? How do you get around this if you're talking to somebody? See, I don't know how you fall for somebody you've never talked to, but that you're just communicating with. But if you're talking to somebody on the phone and you think you're talking to this person,
Well, there's two answers
you've
to that
never
question.
seen them in person, though.
Most of all, they keep the communication to
To a
something
minimum.
through the keyboard, right? Through texting, through email. But they also have accomplices that are good at accents. And AI introduces an entirely new element to this because now voices can be manipulated. The Ghanaian scammer sounds like the Swedish businessman.
And you believe what you want to believe when you think you're in love.
That's
Yeah,
exactly
but I'd
right.
want to see the person in person, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, it makes me so angry.
Me too. Jim, thank
Yeah,
you.
it's so interesting, Jim. Thank you. I mean, you know, the other thing, I know we got to go, but it fascinates me because you're thinking, I could never fall for something like that. But they don't just come and say, give me your money. They woo you in.
Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow with more.
Okay, I know, Jim. You're coming back tomorrow. Our series is called Anything for Love. It continues, though, tonight on CBS Evening News. And then, as you heard Jim say, back here tomorrow on CBS Mornings.